Welcome to another episode of that Worship Guitar Show, brought to you by worshipguitarskills.com with me, Charl and the WGS team. You'll discover how to go from a frustrated to fluent worship guitarist without having to practice for hours on end or even spend thousands of dollars on new gear. We'll help you unleash your true potential so you can make the most of the gifts and talents you've been entrusted with, and finally grow into the amazing worship guitar player you've been destined to become. Welcome, and let's get started. Welcome, guys. Great to have you back here again for another episode of that Worship Guitar Show. And we've got Mark Wilson saying Merry Christmas from Callan, Florida. And then we've got Ademir Damata from Brazil saying hello. Unfortunately, I can't read, believe Portuguese over there. But welcome. Great to have you guys, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Can you believe it's going to be Christmas in a few days? It's hard to comprehend. We are still running our lives as per normal, but you know, it's going to be Christmas in a few days, which is going to be awesome. Time of family, and we know the reason for the season, so it's great just to be aware of all of that and celebrate with friends and family. So Edwin saying Merry Christmas from the Netherlands. Hey Edwin. Mick Cullen saying good day, mate. Great to see you here again, Mick. And welcome. We're really excited to be here today. Today we're going to be talking about, how do you actually come up with composing guitar parts. And I've got a bit of a unique method when it comes to, coming up with what you're going to do for your parts, and how you're going to play them. And I just want to kind of tell you about my thought process that I go through when composing parts. And we do a lot of these things for in our teaching at our Worship Guitar Skills Academy to show our members as well. So we've got Mick and Charles. Charles saying hi from Sydney. Mick saying good news, Christmas will be over in a few days. But yeah, it's great to see our members and obviously all of our subscribers. And Brian L saying hey, Charles from Melbourne. So really awesome to have such a global audience. And of course, we go ahead and we alter the times that we do these. One week will be Australian friendly, the other week will be US friendly, so we try and accommodate everybody, and we might even throw in a third time zone for everybody we don't get to cover within those two. Right, so back to the issue at hand today, how to compose guitar parts for worship. First of all, why is it important? Well, you know what, a lot of times on the albums when they record, whether it's Bethel or Elevation Worship or Hillsong or whomever you're listening to, you're playing on a Sunday, in the studio, you end up playing multiple guitar parts for the songs. And then if you are the only electric guitarist on a Sunday, then it's not possible to really play all of those parts, number one. So you're limited when you only have one guitar on a Sunday. And then the second thing, there are some parts within a song that you definitely want to play. So if you're doing Lion and the Lamb, of course, you got to play You've got to play that recognizable intro line for the song. That's part of it. But once you get into the song, I'm not a fan of playing everything note for note as they played it on the album. And here's why. We are all made unique. We've got a unique fingerprints. We've got a unique sound. We've got a unique way of playing. And while you want to play certain parts of the song, totally fine. But for the rest of the time, what do? Well, I think it's important to, number one, be able to play the parts so that you can play the verses and the choruses and the bridges and all those kind of things. But once you've gotten that done, how do you add a bit of your own voice to that? And how do you play a guitar part that you can develop as a result of what you've learned on the guitar? And today, I've gotten a couple of different things that I want to show you. And this all came from us playing a song, I think it's called Come and Let Your Presence. Unfortunately, I won't be able to say by who it is. I don't remember that right now. But I'm going to be demoing some of that stuff to you today that I did just this last Sunday. And I thought, wow, it'll be a great teaching moment just to kind of see how can you go ahead and break this down. So Mick is saying exactly, play the bits you have to play, but the rest is yours. And I agree. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and cue the track. This is a simple track. It's a D, F sharp minor, and E. And then we'll just focus on the second cam on the guitar so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to jam around a little bit And then afterwards, I'll come down back to this. We'll bring in the iPad. I'll draw some diagrams on the screen and kind of show you how I'm playing these parts. So we're going to switch over to the iPad, and then let's go ahead and see what we can come up with over here. And afterwards, we'll break it down. Here we go. All right, so there you go. That was a simple progression. It's D, F sharp minor, E, which in this case, the song is played in the key of A. So your chords will be 4, 6, 5. Those are your three chords, D, F sharp minor, and E. And those are just some parts that I played for the song. Obviously, different times of the song, it's building, and you want to kind of be able to respond accordingly with the guitar. So Kenan quickly put together a track for us using D, F sharp minor, and E, so that we can go ahead and have something to go ahead and teach this around. So with that said, let me go ahead and show you where these parts came from, as well as kind of the thinking behind what I did there. And if you have any questions, I know we have a little bit of a delay with us going live and seeing your comments, but feel free to throw in any comments in the comment section as we are teaching and going through this, because that's the whole idea behind this, so we can interact in a live manner over here. And then also it's useful for those watching the replay, because if you're asking a question, it means a bunch of other guitarists have thought about the same thing. So feel free to throw in any comments or questions in the comments section. All right, so let's cut to the second angle, and let's go ahead and bring in the iPad, and I'm going to show you exactly what I am doing there. So in this instance, you can see, like I mentioned before, the song is in the key of A. So that means that D is a 4 chord, F sharp minor is a 6 chord, and E is a 5 chord, because our key is A. And if I were to play A there, that would have been the 1 chord. So let me just zoom out here a little bit and see if I can bring that up. Okay, let's go here. I was drawing something here now, and I see that it's out of view, so I'm just going to do it in a different space. Then I know what's in view and what isn't. So D is our 4 chord, F sharp minor is our 6 chord, and E is our 5 chord. And the key that we are playing in at this stage is the key of A. All right. Now, what you are seeing in front of you right now, you probably have seen me use this a ton on our YouTube channel here. These are what we call the 4-2 voicing. So it's simply me playing, instead of playing D like a chord like this, I play D over there on the 7th fret. And by the way, those are the exact same 2 notes, and when you play a D major just like this. So that's D. Then I play this for F sharp minor, fret 10 and 11, and I played this for E. The same shape that I had for the D, I did for the E. So if you're wondering where this comes from, well, this is a D triad, F sharp minor triad, and an E triad. But I'm throwing out the notes on the G string. Instead, I'm just playing D, F sharp minor, and E. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do when you have a simple chord like this. So I'm using hybrid picking here, and I'm kind of thinking like a piano player, because piano players don't play all the notes like this on the piano. They have arpeggio, so it's what we call a broken chord with their fingers, how they get those kind of melodies going. So for hybrid picking, I'm playing this together twice with my pick and my middle finger. But as you can see, I'm playing together, separate together. So, and then separate again. So I'm playing both notes together, a single note, both notes, a single note. And then there's the second thing that I'm bringing in here, which I'll quickly show you. If we were to go like this, I am just bringing in this over there. That is an extra note that I can bring in. That is the extra note that I can bring in. And then that is an extra note that I can bring in. So that whole idea there means that when I want some movement, I can go ahead and just throw in an extra note over there. Let me show you what that means. So instead of me just playing D, F sharp minor, E, that is a part that can work fine on its own, but what if I wanted to just, in certain instances, bring in a bit of an embellishment? So then when I went to the E over there, I also threw in that note. Let's go back to our yellow there. I threw in that note as well. So those yellow notes that you can see over there, those are the notes that I can add for a little bit of a melodic movement, a melodic flair. So that is nice and simple in terms of what you want to do. And even if you have an open sound like this, so now you have literally anything that you can do, you can go ahead and do, because you've got an extra note to add. Let's imagine you are making a dish, and instead of just the normal spices like salt and pepper, you get an additional spice. Maybe you've got some rosemary, and I can use that spice and throw it in when you want to, spice it up. Now the thing is, if you throw in an additional ingredient when you're cooking, it's going to be there the whole time. When we are doing music and we want to spice something up and bring in a bit of melodic interest, it's going to be just for that moment. The second thing to note here, technique-wise, obviously I've shown you my hybrid picking approach in my right hand. Now my left hand, I'm hammering on from this note over there to that note. So it's a hammer on that I'm playing that gives me kind of that smooth sound in the same way that you would do D here. It's the same notes. And then I'm using a slide for the F sharp minor to go from the G sharp to the A, which is this. And then again a hammer on for the E. So just that already, you don't have to do much. You can do so much by just experimenting with those notes. So I literally have 3 notes per chord, and I can come up with a variety of things. So without doing anything pre-scripted, let's play that track again and see what else we can do in order to come up with some parts just using the notes that you can see on the screen right now. So we'll play that same track again. Alright, so there you go. Literally everything that I played was literally just these notes over here that you can see. It all started by just knowing the 4/2 version of those chords and then looking at what you can add in over there. So Bert is just joining us from Louisiana. Welcome, Bert. Great to have you with us. And that is how simple it is when you take these 4/2 voicings as your staple chord tones, and then you just have one chord tone that you can go ahead and add in for some spice. Now, when I played it the very first time, I also did this. I did something like that. So Mick is saying 4/2 for the win as ever, and 4/2 simply just means we are just playing the notes on the 4th and 2nd strings that comes from those triads. And then I added to that the yellow notes in order to have an additional melodic interest. Now what I can also do, let's go ahead and get a different color here. Why not do red? So now the second time around I did this. I added a low note, all right? And in this case that low note is the root note. Okay, so that root note basically means I've still gotten this core 4/2 voicing that I'm basing everything off, but the first time I added in a high note so that I can create some melodic movement, and we throw in an extra one for E, but now I can also add in a low note. Now I want to show you where this comes from real quick. These are now without the yellow notes. So if we do it without the yellow notes and we just look at those chords and I'm going to play them, they're going to sound like this. Check this out. This will be a D, an F sharp minor, and an E. And you might recognize these voicings. The simplest version is obviously kind of sounded like Blackbird from the Beatles. They used these 10th voicings, but you can go ahead and you would also have heard them in songs like I'm very bad with the song titles, but it's the Hillsong, one of the Hillsong songs, probably a lot of them that uses these 10th voicings. So, and in this case it's not really a 10th anymore, it's an open triad. And I just want to quickly show you where this open triad comes from. If I were to play just a standard D triad, I'll have to throw in my middle note there and a standard F sharp minor triad, and a standard E triad. So I'm just going to show you those notes on their own. All right, that would be D, F sharp minor, and E. Now for our 4/2 voicings, we just removed that brown note, so then it would be D, F sharp minor, and E. But I can actually go ahead and repurpose that brown note there. It can go down an octave. So there's the D going down, there's the F sharp going down, and there's the E going down. And when I do that, when I take this D note and I move it down there, and the F sharp note, move it down there, and the E note, I move it down there, that is what happens when I get what's known as open triads. And why is it an open triad? Because now the notes within this triad, they cover a greater distance than an octave. And that is why you get these cool sounds. Alright, so that is when you just do open triads. So it's a 4/2 voicing with a root bolted on at the bottom. But remember, we also added yellow note, which was the note that gave us some opportunity for some melodic interest. So now the guitar is a mini orchestra. So you can look at it as a mini orchestra because you've got the low strings over here up to your... You cover so much melodic area on the guitar, so you can think of it as like a mini orchestra, like you've got some instruments playing that low note, and then the other instruments doing the higher stuff. So you're kind of thinking like that, and it's also kind of like, you know, a guitar is also a bit of a drum kit, because these low notes, it's kind of your kick sounds, and the high notes can be your snare and your kind of cymbals. So there's many ways of splitting up the notes on the guitar. So in this case, I'm literally just going with the notes. If I were to draw this over here, I'm playing D, D, A, E, F sharp. So as you can see, I'm literally just going there, I start there, go to that note, then that note, then that note. And the same, yeah, that note, 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 and that note. I'm literally just using these open triads. And then once you're kind of into it, you can add in another note. Well, you just repeat some of the notes. Right, so that is the concept of using open triads together with my embellished note. And Brian is asking, what would generally be your standard delay settings? I'll cover that for us in a second. And let's go ahead and do this just once more, and I'll show you with the track. If I started off nice and simple, let's do it like this. The first time around, purely just 4/2 voicings, nothing else. The second time around, I'm going to add in the yellow note for some movement, right? The third time around, I'm going to add in that red note together with the yellow note to give me the open triad movements. And that is useful. You wouldn't do them one after the other like I'm about to do now for kind of educational purposes here. But remember, the song starts at a certain tempo and it ebbs and flows. There's high moments, there's low moments, there's moments where the band builds, there's moments where they pull back, there's moments when they all play nice and strong together in order to, you know, have a really cooking chorus. And you as a guitar player want to have some of these things in your toolkit so that you can go ahead and, you know, just be able to play different things and not be stuck the whole time. Because what most guitar players would do is D, F sharp minor, E. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can already do some cool stuff with just those voicings, but you want to be able to venture out of the standard area of the neck, and we'll cover the high area shortly. So let's go ahead and cue the track again. Just as a reminder, first time just 4/2 voicings. The second time add the yellow note. And then the third time, add the red note. And then you kind of see where you want to go from there. So let's cue that track one more time. I'll just do that again, just the 4-2. Now let's add in the yellow note. Add in the red note. Alright, we'll stop there. So as you can see, that was the gist of that part, and you can see how you start with 2 notes, and I always call this the 5 loaves and 2 fishes approach. So you start with simply 2 notes, and then we add in the yellow notes, and then from there we can add in the red notes, and as I'm playing it, my rhythm is also very important by using that to amplify my parts over there. So we'll go to the second parts shortly, but let's quickly answer Brian's question here around the delays. All right, so on my Kemper, all right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you over here. I've got 2 delays. I can turn them off real quick. Well, I can turn them off at the same time. So now there's only reverb happening. So you can see there's no delays. And I can turn the reverb off, and I can turn my boost off. And now it's purely just the amp with the compression. Now, for the first delay, let's get the first delay in there. Like Mick mentioned, that is a quarter note delay right there. And it's got a second delay there as a dotted eighth as well. So listen to this. So if you've got headphones on, you'll hear kind of the delay jump between your 2 ears. But there's a bit of an effect on top of that. So let me throw in my reverb. So you can hear we've got the quarter note delay, and then we've got a dotted eighth delay there as well. So that's a dual delay on the Kemper. You'll get the same thing on the Helix. You get the same thing on any of the current devices. So I've got a dual delay, and then I've got a second delay where the mix of the second delay is higher. So the first delay, the mix was set around 40%, which means that you're hearing about 60% of the dry signal together with about 40% of the delay. So I'm going to turn that first delay off. Here's the second delay. So now this time, this one has an eighth note with a dotted eighth delay. And my mix is set at 62%. And then this is also a dual delay. So for all, a simpler way to say this, I've got a quad delay happening here. I've got an eighth note delay with a dotted eighth on my second delay. So you can hear those are closer to each other because the dotted eighth and the eighth note, they are closer to each other. And if I go to my first delay, yeah, tuka, 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 they're a little bit further away from each other because it's a quarter note delay and a dotted eighth. Now I can feed this first delay into the second delay, and this is where it kind of sounds like that. So there's 4 different delays, and as I'm playing it, you know, it's gonna go all over the show, and like Bertie's saying over there that the quarter note dotted eighth, the quarter note plus dotted eighth is our bread and butter. And totally, yes. So that's a very common delay. And in this case, we've got a quarter note with a dotted eighth feeding into an eighth and a dotted eighth, right? And then obviously that goes into my reverb. And that's why I can do stuff like... And that, yes, obviously, who popularized that? It was The Edge from U2, where he used the delay to actually inspire what you play. And you know what? A lot of people are saying that praise and worship is copycats of, The Edge or whatever the case may be. And you know what? I have to find that to be like an interesting comment, and here's why. No one is saying it's copycats of other bands using overdrive and compression, right? Because we use that all the time as well in tube amps. So that is just an effect. It's part of our, the way that we do it. And The Edge was just the guy who made that famous. And there's nothing wrong with using that because it's just it's one of the elements that obviously was really part of that sound. But the kind of stuff that, The Edge didn't really play so much around these kind of things that we do. He had more of a rhythm guitar approach, a lot of strumming in his playing, whereas if you start using that in more of a singular note thing, like... let me just throw the boost in there. Then obviously it's going to give you a different sound. So... I don't have a problem with using those delays because it just kind of gives your guitar that sound. And if you think about an orchestra, normally they play in a really awesome venue where there's amazing acoustics and the way that the sound travels and the way that they orchestrate, so to speak, the people in the orchestra in order to kind of get that massive sound. So that is a tool at our disposal where we can have delay to give us that little bit of a bigger than life sound. And of course, if you are going to do only if you're going to play that kind of stuff, then it's going to sound very The Edge-like. But if you do other kind of playing, then it's simply a tool. And we shouldn't shy away from useful tools, right? So Mark Wilson saying, learning sound effects has become so important for me. Thank you for covering this. I'm using a Helix floor. Great news, Mark. We've been getting a lot of requests around tone and so forth. And on the Kemper, it's not that easy to make things available because... I'm using someone else's profile so that I don't own. But with the Helix, obviously it's a different methodology in terms of creating the sound. So we will be making some of these patches available in the new year, along with teaching around that, not just the sound, but how do you play along with the sound. So that's coming up. Bertie's saying he's using a collider set to 2 delays. That's as deep as he's going into MIDI. And then Brian says he plays a bit of U2 Edge and nothing wrong with copying his great work. Yeah, exactly. So it's about what's your take on that rather than just playing everything note for note. And that's the whole purpose of this lesson is we don't want to play even the Bethel or the Hillsong or the Elevation Worship songs note for note. We want to have space for us to go ahead and, just give our own view on that. So Mick is saying, so glad he bought the floor, such a great device, especially used with native. And Mark saying it's got a lot to learn about native, and we'll be covering that as well. So we're in for a treat over there. I basically started, one of my first devices was a Line 6 pod, the very first one that came out, which I guess it's 20 years ago or more than 20 years ago now. So I've had a long journey with the Line 6 gear, and I've had a bunch of their devices as well as the Variacs and the DL4, the pedals, the rack units, the pods, the floor units. So that's another great company making a lot of great gear. So we're looking forward to featuring that in upcoming videos and lessons. So back to the issue at hand in terms of we have 4/2 voicings. And then I can add that low note. And then that is basically, just giving us a lot of variety that we can do over there. There was one other thing that I did, which is basically playing what we call a polyrhythmic rhythm, which sounds like this. And the rhythm that I'm playing there, let me write it down here real quick because we're going to get to that section in a moment. So we're not actually going to pay attention to what I've got written down here. I just want to show you the rhythm. Let's delete this. Delete. And then this rhythm that I'm using here, let's go to that color, is basically, I've got a 16th note rhythm happening. So down, up, down, that's a 3-note section. So let me go ahead and let's do this real quick, because I think this is a good teaching moment to kind of show you the power of this polyrhythmic rhythm that I use a lot in playing. So that is a 16th note pattern, so 1 E and A. And of course, when you are playing in a band situation, you've gotten that happens. All right, that's not what I wanted to do. That happens 4 times. So duplicate, let's do that 4 times. That will be a 16th note pattern for a full bar. And for those of you unfamiliar with what that would sound like, if I were just to play that with my strings, that will be 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. All right? So that is how you play a 16th note pattern like that. So let's zoom that in a little bit and we can see it over there. Cool. Normally, you would have down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So, and if you throw in your delay and your reverb, nothing wrong with that. That sounds cool. It's a simple down, up, 16th note pattern. But what I did for this polyrhythmic pattern is I played down, up, down, and then let me do this. I'm going to show you literally just power of copy and paste. So it's down, up, down again, down, up, down again, down, up, down again. And then for my final one, it's down, up, down, up. So what's happening here? Well, let me show you. This down, up, down section over here, let's get a different color. That's not so all in our face there. Okay, that's down, up, down. It's 3 notes. There's down, up, down again, 3 notes. Down, up, down, 3 notes. Down, up, down, 3 notes. And then we have a different color here, which is down, up, which is 4 notes. Now, normally, when we look at our rhythms, beat 1 is one of the strong rhythms. So will be 2B, beat 3, and beat 4, which is why you expect, if we don't play what's written there, you expect 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, when it's all down, up. Because then every time I'm on a strong beat, I'm also on a strong stroke, which is a downstroke. It's going to give you a stronger sound than an upstroke. It's just the way it works. But now if I do down, up, down, and I repeat that, then let's go ahead and check this out. Now I have a downstroke on the last 16th. When I'm expecting that note to be the strong one, it's actually be that note that becomes the strong one. And then again, when I get to this section, it just moves around. So you can see there is the 1. On the 2, I have an upstroke. On the 3, I have the second downstroke, which is not the first downstroke. And then I have it over there again. So it sounds complicated, but it's literally just 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of down, up, down, and then 1 group of down, up, down, up. That is basically what this polyrhythmic pattern does. And if I play that, it sounds like this. Down, up, down, 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 up. It sounds like this. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to do it with the track. But let me just show you. I'm gonna vary between this. So this is the polyrhythm, right? We'll just call that poly over there. And if we call the standard version like this, then that'll be down, up, and that is going to be repeated the whole time. So I'm going to go ahead and jump between the standard rhythm and the polyrhythm, and then we can hear what that sounds like. Just so you can kind of get a sense of like, why would you want to learn this? Well, let's quickly cover that right now. Let's play the track and I'll show you. Here we go. So that's our track there, just going 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E. Now I'm just going to play down up strokes. I'm going to do the standard version. Standard version, right? Here's the polyrhythm. Standard version. Nothing wrong with that. Standard version, down, up, down, up. Now my polyrhythm. All right. So that is the gist of those two rhythms. So when the song was building, and I basically played the down, up, down, this polyrhythm version where I was able to play those sections together. And even when I was writing it, your brain wants to put those elements like in there. So sorry, I was actually right there. That was something else. So yeah, there you go. That is the polyrhythm feature that you can use on single notes to really give a nice rhythmic interest, which is one of my favorite things to do. So with that, let's go ahead and check out the other voicings that I played. So obviously we started off over here, which was all the 4/2 voicings, and then we added the yellow note and we added the red note. But you can also go higher when you are doing this and you're playing, say, D, F sharp minor, and E. So that is a possibility to just use standard triads further up the neck. But I did that and I used the concept that we've covered in some of the previous videos already, where I moved the high note up for the D. I actually used that exact same note. I left it the same when I went to the F sharp. And then for the E, basically what I did, we'll be able, let's just move this all over there so it makes sense. And then for the E, I took this middle note down 2 frets. So I'm going to just give it a bit of a color over there so we can see that note was different from our standard D. That note was different from our standard F sharp, and then that note was different from our standard E. So what does that actually give us? Well, it's the following. If I just play normal D, it'll be this. But if I add in this note over here, as you can see right there, I'm adding in that note. It gives me a D add 9. Then I decided to stay there. These two notes are from the F sharp triad, but that note is my -7. So now this becomes D add 9, F sharp -7, and then E add 4. Okay, so let me go ahead and write in these actual chord names. Just by showing you, I literally just changed one note. So it's D add 9, F sharp -7, and E add 4. So all I did is one note that I changed. Remember, let's go ahead and use like that note was part of the standard D, that note was part of the standard F sharp minor, and that note was part of my standard E. But I decided, in order for some variety, we're going to move that note up for the D to make a D add 9. We're going to stay there to make that F sharp -7, and then we're going to take that note down for E add 4. So what I'm going to do now is I'll play the track again, and the first time I'll just play standard triads. So that when I say the first time, I'll do the standard triads, which will be obviously just a standard D, a standard F sharp minor, and a standard E. So I'm not going to do the additional notes that you see there. Let's listen to that, and then I'll cue you when I change it to actually go to the embellished versions of the triads. And then we'll open it up for Q&A after this. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the comments section so long. So let's cue the track. I'm going to play standard triads, and then I'm going to play embellished triads. Here we go. Standard. Now, embellished triads. Back to standard triads. Nothing wrong with that, but it's fairly predictable. So there you go. You can see how you can go ahead and then take the higher triad up the neck and then go ahead and embellish it. Where any of these three notes, whether it's the highest note, the middle note, or the lowest note, can go up or down. Remember, we've covered that in the previous videos as well. So there we go. This was the standard triads in this area of the neck that I showed you that we can play D, F sharp minor, and E. And I also showed you D, F sharp minor, and E. But I was able to embellish these by adding an additional notes, and then by using different rhythms to go ahead and, you know, just give me a little bit of a, options that I have when it comes to composing guitar parts. And it's really, you make that happen through knowing what additional notes you can add from a melodic point of view, and then finally what additional notes you can add from a rhythmic point of view, and then also harmony. So with that, I'll just close and I'll just show you this real quick. So let's see how much space we got on the screen here. So if I take, if someone asks you, well, what is music? Well, it's simply three circles. And we're going to quickly do this. So duplicate that, and then let's do it again, duplicate that, and is that all in view? Let's quickly see. All right, so I'll just make it all smaller so we can see that nicely. There we go. So that is music right there. It's made up of these three elements. We've got rhythm, we've got harmony, and we've got melody. All right, now that right there is music. All right, so let's go and put two notes in there. That is music, right? The combination of rhythm, harmony, and melody. Now, if you look at most charts that you get in church, it's going to have lyrics over here. So it's going to say, praise the King, whatever the lyric is of the song. And it's going to tell you, you play a C there, you play F there, and you play a G there. So what is missing? Well, there's no rhythm shown over there for you. You don't know what the rhythm is. You need to know how the singers are singing Praise the King, but they don't actually tell you how to, what rhythm you should be playing there. Harmony, yes, you can see the progression, the harmonic progression, but it doesn't tell you what voicings to use. It just gives you C, F, G. And then melody, it also doesn't show you what melodic stuff you can do. It's literally just, yeah, let's go ahead. We'll move this over here. I see it. And yes, my handwriting is bad. I could have been a doctor, but let's just say I'm a doctor of music. So, and we have a real doctor, someone with a real medical degree in our membership as well. So, no judgment, right? We have a judgment-free zone. But that's the problem with a lot of the praise and worship opportunity in order to grow is you don't know what you can do from a rhythm point of view. And I've shown you some of the rhythms that I used, like that polyrhythmic rhythm or the these rhythms, 16th note bass rhythms, the harmony when you can have different voicings, and also melody when you can add different notes to go ahead and increase and get some more voicings happening. So there we go, guys. That is the gist of today's lesson. Find a simple voicing. Triads is the best place to start. Then learn how to, make those triads come to life with some nice rhythms. It doesn't even have to be a fancy rhythm like the 16th note polyrhythmic thing that I did. It should just be something that is rhythmically sound. So even if it's just... even just something like that is constant, it'll totally work fine. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but it just needs to be intentional and consistent. And then find additional notes that you can use to add to those voicings to kind of get some melodic stuff going. And then obviously with regards to the voicings, you have some different approaches available. When you see CFG, you can immediately think, well, I'm going to play C like that, I'm going to play C like this. You have all these voicings at your disposal. So that kind of brings us to the end of this lesson. Hopefully it's helpful for you to see. Just find some anchor. Normally when I have a shopping center, there's like one big company that rents one of the buildings, and then they call those the anchor tenants, and then everybody else, just comes in and hires the little smaller shop, so to speak. And so in this case, just find your anchor voicings that you're going to use for the chord progression, and then see how can you use your strumming hand to go ahead and make those voicings come to life, and then how can you use some additional notes to get some melodic movement in there. So that's basically it. And as you can see, we've already gone for an hour here. It literally feels like 5 minutes. There's so much stuff to do, but it's nice when there's a bit of a system behind this. And we see some of our members here chatting. It's Mick and Brian and Charles that I've seen so far commenting over here. And we've got a whole Worship Guitar Skills Academy with our Worship Guitar Mastery coaching program, where we basically break all these elements down and we go ahead and show people what is possible when you venture into the 3 areas of music: rhythm, harmony, and melody, and then how you can use that with what I call the 5 loaves and 2 fishes method. Is just learn a few little things, basic things like triads. Music doesn't get more basic than that, but then start to see how can you embellish it and how can you add your voice and your flavor to it, and then that becomes multiplied. We can just have a ton of things that you can do in order to play on a Sunday, which is really awesome. It's basically your opportunity to lead and serve the congregation in worship. And when people have those really deep encounters in worship, it changes lives. So how awesome is it to know that if we work on our guitar playing, if we steward our gifts well, we can literally change lives for eternity. That's very humbling and exciting at the same time. And secondly, we have more colors and tools in our toolkits to express our own love and worship to God through using the gifts that He's given us to make His name great. And so that's really our mission and vision at worshipguitarskills.com, is to equip and empower guitarists all across the globe, not only to become great musicians, but also to become great worshipers, and then being able to do all of that. So with that, I want to say thanks so much for everyone watching. We wish you guys a very Merry Christmas and a very happy and prosperous New Year. And we've got some really awesome things planned for our community, both here on our YouTube channel as well as in our academy. And we'll always be here to serve people with loads of guitar lessons. So Bert is saying, thank you, Charl. Edwin saying this was, as always, good lesson. Mark Wilson says, it does go by fast. My first time viewing live. Thank you. And then Mick is saying, great session, Charl. Thank you so much, Mick. And thanks, everybody, for your comments. And Brian saying, Brendan, thank you. It's really awesome to see you guys. And much love to you. Enjoy the time. I know it's a crazy time over the Festive Academy. And but go ahead, Festive Academy. I was reading a comment and talking at the same time. The festive time, yeah. But have fun, enjoy that, and we'll see you guys next year. We've got some videos that we'll be posting throughout the next 2 weeks. We won't have any live streams for the next 2 weeks, but we'll be right back at it again in the second week of January. So much love to everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for sharing. And Mark is saying 4 a.m. Yeah, I think God woke me up to see this. LOL, that is funny. Yes, 4 a.m. is a super early start. So thank you for showing up. And yeah, I just want to honor you guys for showing up, for investing in your learning and in improving your playing. And I'm really excited and happy to be on this journey with you guys. Much love, guys. I'll see you in our next live stream, and keep an eye out on the channel. We've got some things that we'll be posting over the Christmas period. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.